From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Danny Trejo and Donal Logue. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Brian on sound effects, and we'll play a new game called Is It Problematic? And now, after Alaska, he's been further north than any of his family from North Hollywood. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a choice. We got a mandate. You get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. I love that. How about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Bald Brian.
Don Juan van de Donkhoven. That's the name of the horse.
I had a little incident backing out of my garage today, which, of course, sparked some thoughts.
Which child lost a foot?
Just a gardener.
Okay.
And some rules, some regulations, or maybe.
More regulations?
That's right, big government.
Overregulated.
We need to declare certain things in our world, and it's the following. I was running a little bit late. Had my giant mug of coffee. Still got to get that.
Lidless.
Got to get the commuter mug, but I was just taking the big mug, and.
After a solution's been presented to you, would it completely solve your problem?
Yeah, well...
You're going to get so many for Christmas.
My thing is I pour myself my coffee in my house. I tend to drink it around in my house, and then I tend to zap it in the microwave every once in a while, put a little heat into it.
I'm waiting for the wrinkle.
And then I zap it and I leave. I don't transfer it into the next one, but I should.
Yes.
I should.
Okay.
Wait,
moving along.
I feel like we're leaving money on the table. Why aren't there mug lids with a little hole in it?
Well, because mugs are all different sizes. That's
all right. Moving on.
Standard mug size, but
there is kind of a standard mug size, but the mug I was traveling with was a big mouth.
Sure,
it can't be done.
Overdone mug. No, you got to get the ceramic one from Starbucks
like this,
and put the lid on it.
Right.
Which I would inevitably use and most likely leave in here probably. I'd probably get 2.
I'm going to get you 10 or 12.
Maybe 10 or 12. But I ended up just doing what I do, which I travel with my mug. There's also, I'm weirdly container, plate, and utensil oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I always transfer a beer into a glass versus a plastic cup, and I don't like a plastic utensil and stuff like that. And I like coffee out of the mug with the handle. I'm just used to it. But yes, the ceramic part, not so much with the stainless steel or the plastic, but the ceramic Starbucks travel container. I don't know if it's considered a mug. Does it need a handle to have a mug?
It's sold as a travel mug. But you're right.
I shall get one of those. I also have a weird thing about buying stuff from Starbucks that would fall under the gift shop stuff. I don't know why. It makes me feel like an ugly American.
Yes,
I don't know what
it feels a little
it is.
tchotchke-ish.
But Brian shall purchase me that along.
You're the Shabbos goy. Right. Brian, you purchase it.
Along with the spatula. The new wooden,
the spurtle.
The spurtle, the 15-in-1 wooden tool that we could not get by with formerly.
That's right. Be a great Christmas.
So I get my car in the garage. I check the rear view, open the door, check the rear view, see nothing, have the big topped off the oversized mug in my hand. I start backing out, and the car slams the brakes on automatically, of course, spilling the coffee all over me and the car.
This is a scene from The Hammer?
Yes, and but the car did it this time versus me. The car just slammed. The car's an automatic thing.
Oh, yeah.
The car just...
It sensed something.
If it senses something, it'll punch the brakes. Yeah. And sometimes...
That's a feature, not a bug.
I know. Sometimes there's not stuff behind you. Sometimes it's just a tight squeeze with something next to you or whatever. It decides when you're too close, and it does not ease on the brake. It punches the brake.
It's extra shaming because at least in my car goes beep, 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 as though I've done something wrong.
I got no beeps. I just got the slam.
Of the times my car has done that on the highway or whatever, 40% of the time, there's no danger. There's like someone to my, to the side or something.
Yeah, or something. I think what it is maybe you're aware of it, but the car doesn't know you're aware of it. Right. But anyway.
Thinks you're sleeping.
So it slams the brakes on. I spill the coffee all over myself. And then I look through my rearview mirror and I see nothing. And I'm going, why did it do that? And then I look at the backup camera the driveway behind. I see nothing. So I proceed to slowly start backing out, but I can feel that there's something that's holding me up. There's something back there. So I get out of the car and find a giant Blue Apron box, an oversized one.
Out of your view.
Down at
Toddler size, as the car would think.
Well, the rear window, the bottom of the rear window is 5 foot off the ground in the SUV, and the thing's sitting on the ground. Now, here's what I'm getting to. First, mugs. Mugs have a lot of different shapes, and some mugs are too big and too heavy. Like they're just a big old
Like a
thick
stein.
wall, whatever. Don't need it.
They're for soup.
I have mugs that go up like a beehive and then turn in at the top. They actually
don't like
that's a
those.
mug.
It's hard to drink without spilling it on your shirt.
Yeah.
I should really just take those and throw them into a fireplace in a celebration.
Were mugs broken, Adam?
No, I could not. What ends up happening is the ones I use and end up over here. They end up in the dishwasher, and then I open the cabinet, and I have the short one that's not good for holding anything.
Right.
I got the big jumbo novelty ones, and then I got the ones that are curling the wrong direction. But anyway, I made my bed. I spilled all the coffee on top of me. I got out of the car. I turn it, and I see the giant box, and then not a giant box, but a good sized box there that had been sort of half mashed by my car tire. But here's the thing. The side entry to the house, the door is 2 feet from the garage door, meaning the person went up the driveway, dropped this box literally in the middle of my driveway and right behind the garage door. So basically, there are two choices. Either you're going to leave and back over it, or if you're gone and you're coming home, you have to get out of your car and go. I mean, you could easily set it by the door, which is right by the garage door, the side entry. But no, they just drop it in the middle of the driveway. And I feel it's a little catch as catch can. I feel like some stuff is at the bottom of the driveway, some stuff's in the middle of the driveway, some stuff's by the door.
It's not uniform.
Stuff's by the front door. I think everyone needs to make a declaration, which is, here is the door. It is the front door. You shall put it by the front door.
I think that's
The middle
fair.
of the driveway is not a
Lazy.
good place to drop off food. But anyway.
Also, you know what I wish every company would do? What Amazon does. And I know it doesn't affect everybody, but you'll never go back. When you get an Amazon delivery, you also get a picture, a snapshot of the box by your door.
Yes.
So you know where exactly it's going to be.
So that's how I started things off. I also heard a story. I think Dawson has it, which, as I tell you, I stare at the freeway signs, and usually it's click it or ticket or slow for the cone zone. 4th of July is a lot of DUI stuff, or the super depressing road fatalities is one I've seen.
Right.
3,600 people died on the road.
It's fireworks season, don't drive lit.
This year and all that kind of stuff. But as I've often screamed about, no info about getting into a fender bender or bumper bender on the freeway and getting out of your car and standing on the freeway, which is amongst the most dangerous things one could do. If you are living in South Central in a gang-infested neighborhood and you're rolling with the Crips or the Bloods, it might be a push in terms of ways you could be taken off of this earth.
Well, they're
but
part of our community.
if you're a middle-aged white chick who lives in Encino, then by far the most dangerous thing you could ever do is get into a fender bender and then just get out of your car.
Stand in the freeway.
And I heard this story, which happened to this poor woman over basically the 4th of July weekend.
A woman was struck and killed by a suspected DUI driver after she exited her vehicle following a separate crash on the 101 freeway in the Cahuenga Pass before dawn on Monday, according to CHP. The initial collision involving 3 cars occurred on the southbound 101 north of Pilgrimage Bridge around 4:40 a.m. After the crash, one of the drivers, a 45-year-old woman, exited her vehicle, which remained in the number 3 lane.
You're in the middle of the freeway.
And also a hairy freeway. Like
And
there's turns and-
it's 4th of July, and it's 4:30 in the morning.
Jesus.
And it's dark. And, of course, everyone driving at 4:40 a.m. on the 4th of July is loaded.
They're up to no good.
And you're standing in the middle of the freeway at night because you've traded paint, presumably, or something. Now, look, every once in a while, it's a big enough crash and the car's immobilized with the airbag or whatever it is. I don't know all the nuts and bolts of this, but I have seen enough just traded paint, car still running.
You see it all the time.
Just pull over. Just pull up. But they don't know they can pull over because they think it's illegal to leave the scene of an accident. Right. So everyone just kind of dutifully gets out of their car to exchange numbers while cars are whizzing by at night. Yes, sorry.
Minutes later, she was struck on the freeway by a 2003 Chevrolet Tahoe, according to the incident report. CHP officers responded and found the woman suffering major injuries in the roadway north of the bridge. She was pronounced dead. Her name has not been released. The driver of the Tahoe, a 22-year-old Adrian Castro Ramos of Los Angeles, was, quote, determined to be under the influence of alcohol when the deadly crash happened. According to CHP, he was arrested. No further details about either crash were immediately released. The cause of the incident and sequence of events are still under investigation. A stretch of the highway was closed for more than 2 hours.
If it steers, it clears. It's up in Idaho on signs. Just put it on the fucking sign. And
this could be done. This could be solved in a month.
Easily.
If they were up for the month, everyone will get the message.
And forget even about the danger part. How about just the part where you have to fucking take the freeway and close off 3 lanes because people are standing out on the freeway waiting for the tow truck to show up? I mean, it's nuts. It's so solvable. It's so easy. And then you've got to go, like, what goes on in those meetings? Like, is there a meeting? Is this something? See, my thing is people in Los Angeles don't know this. They do not know that you can pull over, that you're not breaking any laws. As a matter of fact, the law should be you're getting a ticket if we find you standing in the freeway and your car's operable. The other thing they don't know is you can turn right on a red. They sit there at that red and you honk at them and
what the hell?
What do you want me to do? Like, yeah, because some of these people are from New Jersey and it's illegal to turn right on a red. And many people are from places that it was formerly, when they got their driver's license in Poughkeepsie, they could not turn right on a red.
Correct.
Then they moved here and they just brought that knowledge with them and no one has told them differently. That's basically, but we could put it on the freeway sign and then they would.
Yeah.
We could solve it.
Be done. And save lives.
Why not do that? All right. Sorry, Dawson.
That's the end of the story, but I was in an awesome accident last week.
Oh, that's right.
I'll tell you about it real quick. I was running late for work. We had to come in and record something early, and then I had to go run a bunch of errands. And I was certainly driving too fast in my big truck on 5 South. And a bunch of cars stopped in front of me. I hit my brakes just a little too late, and I just nudge a newer model Dodge Charger in the back. Then 2 seconds later, somebody crashes into me, and immediately Dodge Charger, the shoulder was closed. So there was no carpool lane there. Immediately, all 3 of us pull right off, get out of the car. I see the driver and the passenger of the Dodge Charger get out.
Tell me it's Vin Diesel.
No. I said to the guy driving, "Are you okay?" I said to the girl passenger, "Are you okay?" They both said, "Yes." "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes." He looked at his car. I looked at my car. No problems. I look at him. I go, "I look good. How about you?" He's like, "I'm cool."
Nice.
He gets back in his car, drives away. Now I go to deal with the lady in the back.
Hit a drug deal to get to.
She's in a Honda Civic.
And you're technically the victim in this situation because you got bumped.
Right. So I go back and she did a little bit more damage because she hit my
trailer ball.
Yeah. Well, not the ball, the hitch at least.
The hitch,
yeah. And so she was a little bit screwed, and I looked at her and I said, "I drive a truck. I'm not worried about the damage. Are you okay?" She says, "Yeah, I'm fine." Just a little shake. And I'm like, "Okay, do you want me to help you get off the freeway?" She said, "No, I'm going to stay right here and call the tow truck." I said, "I'm late for work. I'm sorry I can't stay. You've got a friend with you. Are you cool if I go?" She says, "Get out of here." I drove to work, made it here 2 minutes beforehand.
This is the dream.
And
It's a great accident.
If you told that story on stage in Anchorage, you could have bought me another 5 minutes. That's why you bring the buck slip up there. But the point is, imagine it's 4:40 a.m. and it's dark outside and you're just conducting this from the number 3 lane. in Hollywood at Cahuenga.
And I believe right there are 4 lanes.
Yeah.
At least, and maybe an exit lane. So, yeah, we're talking right in the middle of the
So
road.
you guys did the right thing, and I would reckon that half the people do that, but the other half don't. And that's in a
You think half the people do that?
maybe.
That'd be awesome.
I wish it did. In a world where all we do is talk about traffic safety and, seatbelts and driving drunk and, speed zones and cone zones and school
Watch my
crossings.
mom. She works on the construction site.
Yeah,
on
we
the
see
side of
that
the road.
9-year-old, like, your mom's a lesbian loser. I saw one of those the other day. I point at it every time I say it out loud.
Say that to the TV.
I say, no, the sign.
The
It's
billboard.
up on the billboard.
Because they also have the commercials.
Yeah,
My
all right.
daddy works on that.
We're obsessed with safety.
Yeah.
Fine. This is the most dangerous thing you can do on a freeway.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and put it up on the board.
That'd be great.
I know we're talking about life and death here. If we can move on to something a little more important. Chris, can you put up the 2 travel mugs? Mm-hmm. Which of these do you like better?
Let's see.
Christmas in July.
Not
All right, he's looking for those. Brian sent it to him, but we'll figure it out. All right, I got Geragos' wedding to talk about.
Do you like the one with like the overlid?
The
like you
Epcot
get
looking
it?
one?
Yeah, I'm an overlid guy.
Done. It's ordered.
All right, 14 ounces. I love it. Yeah, thank you. I shall use it, and I will not let you down. Thank you. All right.
The least I can do.
Gina, you love the band Kiss, right?
I do and have been to many concerts.
How come? Let's see. It's Gene and Paul and Ace and Peter.
And Peter from the old days. Yeah.
Peter from the old days. I just watched a doc on this that you need to see. I think it was a 2-parter on A&E. I was telling you about this,
Yeah,
wasn't I?
yeah.
Yeah. So watch it because you're Kiss. You'll like it.
Kiss Army.
Yeah. But it got me to think just sort of globally, which is I always knew Kiss and I always knew the band. Everyone knows the band. But I never really knew the sort of dynamics of it. And basically, they all started, and it was like the early 70s, and it's, everyone's poor and everyone's kind of an immigrant, and they all have their foibles and problems and whatever.
One's a special ed teacher in New York.
Yeah. Gene and Paul are the good ones, right?
Well, they're the businessmen. That's sort of the teetotalers.
Paul was born with like a deformed ear. That had like no ear. Couldn't hear out of his ear. Always wore his hair, over his ear. But
Chaim Yafetz, or what's his?
Gene
by.
Simmons is born in Israel.
Yes.
And I've interviewed him before and telling stories about just being a poor ass dude from Israel moving here when he was 6 or whatever it is. But
Don Juan Van de Donkhoven. That's it.
Yeah, was that Gene's real name?
Chaim Weitz.
So you start this band, everyone's 19 or 17 or whatever. I always think I would be the world's worst Kiss member because they'd be like, put your makeup on. And I'm like, ugh.
Come on, Star Child.
Again.
I mean, just putting on makeup to do a TV show, just powder seems like too much work. They all do their own makeup.
Yes.
They sit there and do it, no stencils or anything. And I would just be going, can't we just let's just cover a Foo Fighters song or Crosby, Stills and Nash or something.
Wait for the Unmasked tour in 10 years.
1971. Who are the Foo Fighters?
Oh, they're going to be huge. I may join them. So they start off and, one thing leads to another and the next, and they're not having a lot of success and they're not selling a ton of records. And then they come up their big live record. And that's where rock and roll all night party every day and all that
Detroit
stuff.
Rock City.
All that stuff's on the big live. And then they blow up. And now they're selling out stadiums and they're having some of the biggest tours in the world, highest grossing. And they're big. They're the biggest band in the world.
Right.
When did the makeup come into play? Was that from the beginning or?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
They did it from the beginning.
And that's when they come out, they say, you wanted the best, you got it the best. Welcome, the hottest band in the land. Kiss.
Right. So, but now there's 4 guys in the band. And 2 of them are sober and business oriented, and the other 2 are drunken ne'er-do-wells.
Less so.
Right. And of course, the other 2 always have a beef. Like this is what I'm interested in life. You have the 2 sober guys going, we just sold out the Tokyo Dome, but you got to be there by 5 p.m. And everyone's like, fuck you, you're not my boss, I never understand that, but it always exists. There's a super disgruntled, And the guys that are doing all the thinking and the deals and the heavy lifting, and you're just making millions and millions, and everything is whacked up 4 ways.
Is it the devil you know? Like, is that a kind of thing with people where you're like, this got me here, so I'm going to continue to do this, and without self-reflecting, like, oh, maybe this is holding you back.
Without Ace, who's going to sing Beth?
Right. And some of it is, pharmaceutically driven and alcohol driven, but
right, but they're doing that all the way up. So
and
why not just continue?
There's still this mentality, and then at some point you become a liability, and the 2 guys who are running the show kick you out of the band, and then they replace you with some other guys.
Bruce Kulick and Eric Carr, maybe?
Yeah, Eric Carr is one of them, and Kulick, whatever. There's a little rotating cast, and they go with different makeup, and it works to some effect, and then they go with the unmasked thing. And then at some point, you've had the highs, you've had the lows, you've changed band members, and you've gone unmasked and done all that stuff. And they really, they sold the most records in the world, and they had, really disappointing record sales. And then at some point, they're going to get the band back together and go on a original lineup, all makeup, huge sold-out stadium tour. And, of course, the 2 guys that are coming back are a little bit pissed, which I always like that part,
they have a grudge.
too. Yeah, they got a little grudge.
Yeah.
And, at some point, the 2 guys who were keeping the band going for the decade, the two boozers were out of the band with the horrible attitude. There's those 2 guys who kept the band together for that decade say to the 2 guys who come back, you can come back, but here are the rules. And then so I was like, fuck that. What's up?
Who do you think you are?
I'm an original member. It's like, okay, well then go cut solo albums then and see how many seats you sell and how many stadiums you sell out, So they come back. And of course, they're always insulted that somebody says, you've got to be on the plane on time. You have to be sober on stage. Also, I love it when you make rules for people and they act like you're stopping sober, prompt citizens in trying to get those rules. We're basing those rules off of being on the road with your drugged out ass for 20 years.
You establish a pattern of behavior.
Yes, we've seen you on stage collapsing because you were so high and not being able to play your instruments. So this is based on a long history of that.
Yeah.
And then they say to them, and then of course the guys that come back are like, we want equal cuts. We want equal cuts. And they're
you're
like,
an employee now.
We kept the band going for 10 years. You'll make $1 million if we go play the Tokyo Dome, but we're going to make $2 million.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Done.
But that's how it works. And it's like, well, fuck you and the fucking horse you rode in on. But I'm so interested in that component. You know what I mean? Still pissed off, still disgruntled. I don't know how much of that is just in your genes. Like, who created it? Everyone had a shitty family. I mean, not a shitty family, but everyone was poor. Everyone struggled. Everyone came from somewhere.
But this is the same.
Why are 2 guys so virtuous and sober and so business oriented, and the other 2 are just ne'er-do-well fucking flunkies?
This is sort of the macro version of your micro of, you loan somebody money and all of a sudden you're the asshole and they're mad at you.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
It is. I'm struck by how many adults possess this.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you.
And it's the biggest gift in the world.
Right.
You're just going to Tokyo to play rock and roll. You get $1 million.
Relive the good old
Why are you
days.
pissed off?
It's a cliche to the point that I wonder if it's a common theme or trait in rock stars, because I don't know if you guys saw The History of the Eagles, really good documentary a couple years ago, but this was almost the exact same thing, minus maybe the drugs, but the exact same thing with the reunion tour with the Hell Freezes Over tour. It was very clear that Don Henley and Glenn Frey made it very clear, this is in the documentary, hey, we're getting a bigger cut. We're the big stars. We had the big solo career. We're getting a bigger cut. And I think it was, Dawson, you might know, who was it? It was Meisner, right? Randy Meisner?
Who's outraged.
Someone in the band, one of the lesser guys, was outraged. Like, no, we're getting equal cut, equal billing, equal time on stage. And meanwhile, the funny part was Joe Walsh was like, whatever the fuck you guys want to do is good by me. I'm down for a paycheck. And the other guys, they fucking booted him out of the band again.
Yeah. Well, and remember...
so there's 2, sorry.
Yeah.
but there's two components to this. One is, where do you get the crazy entitlement? And then the bigger component that I'm always interested in, because it's certainly happened to me a few times, and I've definitely seen people do it to Jimmy Kimmel, where they go like, well, then fuck you. I'm going across the street and writing jokes, but they never do. Why aren't you... How come you realistically don't know what's waiting for you outside of this door? You guys can cut all the solo albums you want, and you can play an acoustic set at McCabe's, but we're talking about playing stadiums.
Right.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you just want...
And this is the ultimate cash-in opportunity for the Kiss or for the Eagles. Like, this is what you've been waiting for decades.
Is this just Arrested Development? There are some people that just entitled teenagers forever.
It's not even a rock and roll thing. It's just a humanity thing. Like, wouldn't you rather have a 15% cut of a $30 million stadium payday versus 100% of whatever you get at McCabe's doing your acoustic set?
They're an artist, man. I guess
they're insulted.
Yeah, I guess
it's just weird, and it's why I tell people all the time, micro and macro, when you're talking about this community or that community. Pride is a killer, man. With that pride fucks you up. It'll get you killed oftentimes, but it's also doesn't get you paid a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You gotta check that pride at the door.
I think it was Don Felder.
You end up walking away, and it's always in the vein of, that'll show them, but you're not showing anyone. You're forgotten and you're broke. Do you remember when the National Enquirer came out in, I think it was the 80s, of a picture of like a homeless guy and said it was Peter Criss and that he was living under? Okay, I freaked out. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember hearing that story, and I, of course, was in Overland Park, Kansas, crying, begging my dad, we gotta go find him. He's living under a bridge. Somebody has to help him. First of all, I don't think that ended up being him, but like I was very shaken by how the mighty had fallen.
Still pissed. Wouldn't be part of the documentary.
Wow.
That's the legacy. Never get it. You're in the biggest rock band in the world. And the good news is you have this sober guy from Israel who's a money-making machine at the helm.
Yeah, who's leading the charge.
He's leading the charge.
By all means, fall in line.
I'll dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah.
Yes, you let him do all the accounting. You just hammer those checks. Yeah. And nobody said you couldn't drink like after the show or on the airplane or anything. They just kind of said the flight leaves at 3. You got to be through the airport and keep together on stage. By the way, keep it together on stage didn't mean you couldn't have a glass of Jack Daniels out there. It just meant you can't be whacked out of your brain.
There's an old clip from the 70s. I want to say Charlie Rose, but it wasn't. Who else was like it was like a Kiss was on with them.
Snyder?
Tom Snyder.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Ace Frehley is out of his mind. He has a teddy bear. He keeps interrupting. This is my space bear. Like, he's out of his mind.
Right. So Gene.
Probably had enough of that.
And Paul.
And don't forget, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Amusement Park, one of my favorite movies.
Right, which, by the way, those two guys didn't even show up to half the shooting of it. They used doubles.
Oh, sure. We got the makeup. Why not?
Got all the makeup.
I'm devastated.
Yes, you should be. So, of course, they didn't even show up for the shit. But
oh, my God.
Yeah, they went and did Tom Snyder's show, and he was lit, but the best part when you watch the doc is you can see Gene's sober face, like just going,
twisting into anger.
Shut up. Shut up. Yeah, not sure. And my adage of almost everything bad that happens to you, you shall do to yourself. This falls squarely under that
self-inflicted wounds.
Under that heading. All right, we'll see if we can find that. It was in the doc, so it's got to be out there somewhere. And I think it was Tom Snyder. I think you're right. It wasn't Charlie Rose.
Yeah, one of those type of shows.
And they were all on, and Ace. Ace was out of his brain?
Yeah, with a teddy bear, like the only space bear in captivity. They're like, what are you talking about?
All right, let me also, we got some Gina crazy spa news updates.
Oh, yeah.
I talked to Geragos yesterday about the Cosby situation, and he had a 2-minute synopsis of it that'll probably make a lot of sense to a lot of folks that don't have his legal background, but he puts it in plain English. All right, first let me tell you about Hyundai Tucson. Hyundai questioned everything to create the best Tucson ever. Every inch has been completely redone on this car, resulting in an SUV loaded with innovation inside and out. It is a ton, well, maybe closer to 2 tons of SUV, and especially at the price point, it's amazing the technology that's in this thing, the fit, the finish, the interior design, the exterior design. Really got to know this car really well a few weeks back, and it is a beautiful, beautiful piece. They've improved every aspect of the new Tucson. Digital key allows you to use your phone as a spare key. Has a 10.25-inch full-touch infotainment screen inside, which works very nicely. LED daytime running lights stylishly hidden behind the front grille. It is a beautiful SUV at a great price, and you can learn more at Hyundai.com. That is Hyundai.com. All right. We'll take a quick break. We got a new game to play. We'll see if we can find that clip. We got Geragos. We'll do all that right after this.
Yeah, it's Tom Snyder, and it's like 10. So one video is 10 minutes long. One's like 35 minutes long. So I just gotta find the moment.
All right.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hi guys, it's Anana. I'm your one black fan, and I just wanted to tell you that you saved my life today because I was standing on a street corner getting ready to go get some dog food, and I decided to stop and check my podcast, and then boom, there's this car crash right where I was standing. 2 cars crashed into each other. So thank you, Carolla, for saving my life once again. I love you. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Man, so sad. The situation with blacks in America can't even afford real food. Have to eat dog food. It's so, people out there say there's no systemic. What else could this be? Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's a sad, sad commentary on our society.
Mm-hmm. Correction from yesterday. I kept saying Jim Youngblood, and I meant Jack Youngblood. It's easy mistake to happen, but it is Jack Youngblood I was talking about. All right, so he's found the Tom Snyder clip, and he's now scrolling through it, and we'll see if we can find.
A long interview.
It's quite lengthy.
Find
find
some of that
Regina's
stuff.
most pissed.
We have Geragos with a little bit of a choppy connection because of the goddamn Zoom, which just doesn't work as well as we'd like it to, but. This is 2 minutes of me asking him sort of technically what went down with the Cosby trial, and here's his explanation.
This is his response into you saying, is it a technicality?
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I bristle at the idea of technicality because for the same people who may call it a technicality are also the same people who revere the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment is there for a reason. It's there because we've decided in our system. In a criminal case, the onus, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. They're the ones who have to prove the case. You don't have to defend yourself. There are other systems. You can go to the French system. I can cite a number of systems where that isn't the case. But here in America, the prosecution has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and they cannot force you to testify. That's in essence what happened here. They forced him to testify by this prosecutorial bait and switch. They had a prosecutor, Bruce Castor, who promised that he was not going to prosecute Cosby, and that the case was, in his words, he testified to this, it wasn't me. His words were, it's not going to get any better over time, so I'm telling you, this case is never going to get prosecuted. Therefore, Mr. Cosby, you cannot assert the Fifth and avoid testifying in your civil lawsuit. My guess is if we had Bruce Castor on here, he would tell you I was doing that on behalf of Andrea Constan, the victim. I was trying to help her get some measure of justice because I didn't think I could convict him. And guess what? At that point, he couldn't convict Cosby because he didn't have Cosby's testimony. He did not testify. So it made perfect sense. Well, when Bruce Castor said that, then Cosby no longer had the ability to assert the Fifth Amendment. He did testify in a deposition. The civil case was settled after that. The deposition was sealed. Fast forward 15 years later, 13 years later, a federal judge unsealed it. And the new DA, who had basically campaigned on the idea of I'm going to prosecute Bill Cosby, then prosecuted him not once but twice, hung jury the first time, convicted him, and then the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, mind you, it was only 4-3. One vote would have separated from coming and going, but the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, you can't do this, and we're not going to let you prosecute him again. You're barred.
So that's a technical discussion on a technicality. But yeah, it was sealed, and they said it'd be sealed. So he said, all right, I'll speak about myself in unflattering terms. And then they unsealed it, and they used it, and that's what happened. Now, I don't know why they unsealed it and used it. They had to know they were just serving it up to Cosby's team at that point, because the first thing Mark said 2 years ago is, you can't do that. They're going to bring that back and beat that.
I heard on a podcast about this, but it was confusing, and I should have done a little more digging. Something like, the court reporter, they were only supposed to unseal a little bit of it, but the court reporter thought they were supposed to unseal all of it, and then it all got leaked to the press.
Yeah, well, it's like Pringles. Once you pop that cap, man.
Yeah, Quaaludes.
Was it Pringles you can't stop
Yep.
once you pop? They're goddamn right about that. And I got to tell you, as somebody who hates novelty food, like I don't drink strawberry soda and stuff like that. It all feels weird. I would never order like a watermelon daiquiri or something like that. I'll feel so. Every offering that Pringles has and Doritos has, I fucking love.
Enjoyable.
I don't care if it's like zesty jalapeno or mountain
pizza.
ranch or pizza flavored. For some reason, it's all fucking good.
You know
which
what's
is scary.
funny? You know what's even funnier about Pringles is that's basically particle board.
Yeah,
it's like composite potato.
Yes. All right. We have a little update. Well, there was this whole spa situation,
my spa.
and we touched on it, and there was kind of a day two, and the day two was the protesters, and Antifa showed up, and there was a big brouhaha outside of the spa.
Yeah.
And when Gina said that was her spa, I thought,
yeah.
Now, do we have the battle with the... I haven't seen. I just heard that I guess folks showed up. The story was, and here's, all right, you guys have heard me like harping on language for a long time, like what we call, back in the day, there was like transgender and transsexual. Now, there was cross-dressers. That was mostly a dude who dressed like a woman.
Right.
And then there was transvestites.
Right.
That was, again, a dude that dressed like a woman, I think.
Right.
But if you said someone was transgendered, they had gone, they'd had an operation at that point.
Sure.
We've loosened up the definition of transgender to people who think they're women, men who think they're women, and women who think they're men.
Identify as such,
minus any surgery. Now, the problem with this kind of loosening of the language is then you're going to have dudes. I heard the dude had a beard and a dick, and you're just going to identify as a woman, and you're going to walk into the woman's locker room. The same thing you would do with people who wanted to travel with their dog. Well, I want to travel with my dog. Well, you're sick. Well, let's just say I have depression. All right, let's go.
Done.
You know, so maybe there's dudes who want to just hang out in the women's side of the locker room at the spa, and getting surgery is expensive and time-consuming, but
you know where this all
if
started?
you identify as that, then you're there.
It all started with people getting ordained as ministers online for weddings.
Yes.
The Universal Life Church.
Yeah, that's right. They broke the dam.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't have to go to seminary school, study the Bible.
$20.
A book of religion. No, just $20 and
So
you can marry someone.
The dude goes in. I hear he's hanging out in the hot tub, like sitting on the edge of the hot tub with his dick out. The feisty black chick is in there with her daughter, evidently.
A lot of people bring their kids.
And they come out of the spa. I don't know who would bring their kid to a fucking spa. That
They
sounds
all
insane to
do.
me. It sounds insane.
Yes.
You got to hang out naked with your kid?
Yeah, I mean it's cultural. It's a Korean spa, and I've been there a million times, and it's very like family oriented.
All right, so their kids,
Nega, I assume.
their
Brian,
kids
come on.
over in the female side of the locker room,
Lots,
and then
usually, yeah.
the dude comes walking in and pulls his junk out and sits by the tub. Now, unfortunately, devolved into something where we can't judge and we don't have rules, and somehow this guy has rights and everything else. And so the woman comes out and complains, and then I guess the next day there's a protest out in front of the spa, because when the chick came out and said, you got to get that guy out of the locker room, the person who worked the spa went, well, that's how he identifies. Those are the rules.
She wasn't exactly demure about it. The woman who posted the Instagram is yelling all kind of F-bombs and screaming at everybody.
Right. But I get it. Anyway, then they have a well, we can just watch it.
The protesters are protesting for this person's right to be in the spa?
There's both.
Yeah,
there's
both sides
both.
are there, yeah.
The protesters, I think, initially show up to say there's a men's room and there's a woman's room, and that's the way it needs to be. And if you get the surgery, you can go into the woman's room, but if you don't, you can't just identify and go into the woman's room. And then Antifa shows up and starts. They're on the side of the dude who's in the ball. All right, we'll just play it for you.
This is raw footage.
Yeah.
Trust Jesus.
So they're
Pepper spray.
spraying people with pepper spray.
Let's
They've
talk
got
about
the gay
Jesus.
flags out there. People filming.
Repent or perish.
By the way, I have no idea who any of these people are. Could you imagine? I'd be hard-pressed to go to the Hollywood Bowl at this point. Then someone tries to grab the Jesus flag, the Antifa guys, and they're spraying pepper spray on people.
Is that an egg?
I think they smash
Yeah,
an egg
they're
on
eggs.
somebody, and now they're fighting. I don't know I'm not sure what Antifa's endgame is, other than just kind of chaos.
They look like SWAT.
Yeah, they show up in black everything, and they just
Helmets.
fight with people. But Antifa wants... they're punching the shit out of this. Antifa's like, first off, they're hitting him with a skateboard. Oh, they just knocked him out with a skateboard. I mean, fuck Antifa is what I basically want to say. Like, hey, look, if you got a cause, have a cause. Your cause can't be general chaos.
That is their cause.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to remove that. Save the seals in the bay, no nukes. Whatever your fucking cause is. Your cause can't be show up in black hoodies and smack people with skateboards on top of the head. And let's just go ahead and start arresting some of these fucking felons, shall we? Jesus Christ.
Shit's breaking up.
Cops finally showed up. By the way, and then what are they arguing? That guys with dicks can't just identify as a chick and then turn left and walk into the locker room? All right.
It's an arms race of protesting now. Like, these people show up, now we must show up.
Well, and that's the problem,
Who cares what the cause
because
is?
that's the thing. It's like if it was just a 6 people with Trust Jesus T-shirts standing there, then we wouldn't even know about it and it wouldn't even matter. But now we have good guys and bad guys, and now it's a national story.
All right. This is the problem, everybody. When you erode the language and you try to be inclusive to everyone all the time, it just goes blah. It just eventually gets to this. And then if you're a spa and you say no dudes in the women's side, now that's a hate crime now, which is fucking nuts. There has to be some rules. This is the most basic thing in the world. It doesn't get more basic than the guy's got his dick hanging out with the kids in the women's side of the locker room. It could all be distilled down to this. We need rules.
And it would seem like he did it intentionally, right? To be provocative.
I don't know. And that's
seems like it, but who knows?
I've been to the spa, I don't know, conservatively a dozen times. This is like a sort of a 24-hour spa. A lot of times, like, you'll go after, the bars close and whatever. And then when there's a mixed gender room where you have
Really?
Oh yeah, but you have to wear their yellow T-shirt and their ill-fitting khaki shorts. Everybody wears it, and then you can go in like the different saunas, and then you can lay on the heated floor. Some people literally sleep there overnight and have like little mats with their families, whatever. So, but the hot tub and cold plunge and the locker rooms are very separate, and they are very strict about that. Now, if this were me and my girls and we were in the hot tub and there was somebody who seemed sincere about their identification, I can imagine us being like, hey, like, come talk to us. Like, we want to befriend you. We want you to feel welcome. If there's a dude like that you're suggesting it's just, to see how far you can go, that would be upsetting. But
how do we judge sincere? Boner versus flaccid?
Probably, yeah.
How do we know?
Get out of that cold plunge.
Mincing.
If you girls
Brian,
are in the
please,
tub and some dude shows up with a beard and just pulls his junk out and sits by the edge of the tub.
But that's what that if that is exactly what happens, seems a little aggressive, possibly threatening. But if it's a transgender woman who hasn't had surgery and wants to feel welcome there, I would probably be excited about it.
This is the problem. We need to define transgender. Transgender who hasn't had surgery is a dude who thinks he's a chick.
Well, you would actually be part of this loophole. What if the answer is whatever it says on your driver's license?
My ex can get me into any female locker room in Southern California. Ooh.
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah. So this is, of course, then the problem, first off, you got to make a rule. And the rule's like, if you've had the operation, you're welcome. If you haven't and you think this is who you are, now we're getting into this gray area of dogs at the airport. Are these actual people with actual things, or do they want to do this?
It's undefinable.
The answer is we'll never know.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this is why we need the rule.
But I have to say, out of all the places, I was pretty surprised that this happened at We Spa, because like I said, they're pretty strict and have always gone out of their way to keep the genders separate in these situations. So I don't know if there was a new management or what.
I guess the guy just said, here's how I identify. All right. Should we do our new game? Is it problematic? We have an intro for that, Dawson.
Right now on the Adam Carolla Show.
How should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
The fabric of America
Minneapolis on fire.
This is getting serious.
is fraying.
Oh my goodness.
A nation on edge.
And the confrontation got ugly.
This is how erratic it's become.
Racism, extreme versions of individualism and capitalism, white supremacy.
It's time to play Problematic. All right, so I'm going to give you three choices. You tell me which one of these three is recently in the news as possibly being problematic. Pasta salad.
Let me say this. It's weird. When I was growing up, the only things that were problematic were like cars. Like, this car doesn't work well.
Okay, it's a problem with it.
It's got a vapor lock.
Right.
It's not.
Steering wheel's problematic.
It's a problematic
There's your
car.
remote control.
Right.
maybe.
Right. There was no problematic that could be ascribed to any social or emotional thing.
Appetizers.
It was like cameras that didn't work well were problematic.
Right.
Refrigerators that wouldn't thaw right and froze over and stuff. Those were the
is a
things that were
problem.
problematic. But now we've ironically worked out the problems with all the appliances and all the durable goods, and now we just have emotional things that are
That's right.
problematic. So elbow macaroni salad.
God, I love
Pasta salad in general.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So good.
Sunscreen. Or the word picnic.
I have thoughts about this.
Yeah. God damn it.
The word picnic,
Yeah.
not picnics themselves.
I want some goddamn pasta salad is what I want.
With the crunchy little celeries and all the little cherry tomatoes,
And the
Italian dressing.
olive, if you're smart, little pieces of like ham
Yeah.
cut up in there.
Yeah. That sounds
One of the least
perfect.
salady salads ever, but so good. Second only to the taco salad in terms
Yeah.
of caloric
Not really
intake.
salads.
Yeah, but boy.
Speaking of the 80s, which we've talked about recently, do you guys remember Suddenly salads? Because my mom loved them.
Suddenly salads.
Standing beside
With
you.
Brooke Shields?
Yeah. It was literally just like...
Sitcom called Suddenly
Yep,
Susan.
there sure
I
was.
think it was Brooke Shields.
Yes, it was. Oh, no.
it was what's her name?
Veronica's Closet. I got those mixed up.
I think
No,
she was
that
Suddenly
was-
Susan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was there, or what's her name from Howard the Duck or something?
Leah Thompson.
Thompson.
That's
Maybe.
something in the city.
Leah,
Caroline in the
We'll
City.
find it. Anyway, Suddenly Salad.
It was literally just a thing of, rotini and a thing of powdered Italian dressing, and you just, add water. And Marlis loved those.
so weird. it's always weird to me when people just have I don't have time to make salad. Like, I don't know. What? Don't you?
Well, it was funny, too, because, like, not only was she a Jewish mother, but she was also, for a long time, a caterer. But the kids got the snack bowls and the Sunday salads.
All right. So is it the pasta salad? Is it the sunscreen? You could argue it's sunscreen, but I'm going with picnic because everything is problematic. That we're finding out that, you can't say rule of thumb.
Right, that's right.
For instance, because it always dates back to,
your wife.
Right,
You
whatever.
can't welch on a bet.
Whatever
you can't
it is.
Gyp somebody out of
Right.
something, right.
I'm going with the picnic.
I could make an argument for the sunscreen because of... I think an argument could be made if we're looking at things from a problematic perspective, but I seem to remember the word picnic having some dark, tough roots. So I'm going picnic as well.
I think that, to me, that struck me as too specific for this bit. So I'm going to say like picnics themselves might be a problem. I'm going to say sunscreen because it discriminates against fair skin versus dark skin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Brandeis University just released a list of oppressive and violent language. They said the word picnic is, quote, often associated with lynchings of black people in the United States, during which white spectators were said to have watched while eating.
Yeah, like you bring a lunch.
Referring to them as picnics or other terms involving racial slurs against black people.
Oh, like a
like Brian, like what I'm saying is like if you said to me, what did you do on the 4th of July weekend? And I said, I had a picnic.
Like,
you would assume I was watching a lynching, right?
Yeah. I'd be like, how was it?
Yeah, it's mostly assumed. Mostly. But sometimes it means spreading a blanket out. Okay.
I got to expand my mind.
With various charcuterie.
Man. Everyone who believed that ought to know that the word was removed from the list last week after a Reuters fact checker found the claim relating it to lynching to be completely false.
Okay, that seems apocryphal.
That's good. Okay, so we were wrong.
I'm glad that it came from
you.
The story's right.
Correct.
But Brandeis put that in there? Okay, I see. I wanted to be wrong about that.
I'm claiming victory on that one.
All right, round 2. Star Trek, black holes, or Buzz Aldrin. Which is problematic?
Well, Buzz might be problematic for a lot of reasons.
Why?
Isn't he handsy? Wasn't this thing he was handsy?
I don't know.
Buzz, maybe the first year I did the Toyota Grand Prix, I think I did it with Buzz. Buzz was a horrible driver, ironically.
Salty fella.
Salty and like one of the most... He didn't disappoint. He was as serious a dude as you've ever met. He was hardcore. He loved... God, I'll think of the plane. I'll think of the plane he loved. Anyway, fighter plane, whatever. I talked to him for a while because why not? He famously blew up maybe 2 or 3 cars in practice. He just would blow up the engines. He also, I do believe, there was some nut job who would follow him around. Yeah, 2003, he was in the race with me. Must have been the first year I did. There was some nut job who would follow him around trying to say that the lunar landing was a hoax.
Oh, that would
and
drive
it was
me
cooked
insane.
and whatever. And the guy
Buzz didn't take well to that.
And he punched a dude out like once.
Good.
Right. So, black hole, well, that seems semi-obvious.
Right in the name.
But it feels...
But it can be problematic for lots of different reasons. Don't just focus on...
Star Trek, and then there's Buzz. Buzz might just be on there to sort of even out the space theme. I'm going to go with Star Trek because they didn't have enough black crew members, and maybe the black hole's too on the nose.
I agree with the black hole being too on the nose. Star Trek was an early, like on the forerunner of inclusivity.
Yes.
The
True.
black one, they're an Asian crew member. They're very diverse. So I'll say Buzz Aldrin did something.
Yeah, I'm with Brian because Star Trek, part of the reason it existed was to show this sort of future utopia where all these, the best of each race come together.
A white guy kiss a black girl, for God's sake.
Right, well, the aliens made them do it. That's the only way they could get away with it on network television. But so I think we should leave Star Trek alone. Just to even things out, I'll say the black hole.
Cornell University is offering a new course titled Black Holes, Race, and the cosmos.
Wait, what?
The course will introduce students to the fundamentals of astronomy through readings in Black studies.
Why the black guy always dies first in the action movie?
Explore the connection between the term black holes and, quote, racial blackness. It will use works like Music by Outkast and Janelle Monáe to prove the connection.
Wow.
What college is this?
Cornell.
That's got to be $63,000 a year for the poor parent.
I love this game. Is this problematic, though?
The game? Oh, yeah.
No. The black hole. It's part of the course that they're offering.
I think that the course study is all approaching why it is problematic.
Like
that there is a
it
connection
intends to prove that it's
that
problematic?
there is a racial connection between black holes and black racial identity.
I'm with you.
Round 3. Dungeons and Dragons. The board game Clue. Or Pogo Sticks.
Wow. Dungeons and Dragons is very white. Very white.
Yeah. Also, Pogo Stick is one way a white dude can get hops. You know what I mean?
Get some air.
Yeah, I mean it's a kind of a strap on for white dudes in terms of most guys just can't get that kind of vertical.
Right.
But the Pogo Stick can get you up there. So maybe that's a cultural attack. Dungeons and Dragons, never understood it. I'm just going to say Clue.
I don't know where to go. I can't see Pogo Sticks being problematic. Maybe you know what? A lack of diversity in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I know everything about the game and the movie Clue. I know that it's all white people. Yet it doesn't seem to be as problematic as... I'm going to go D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons maker Wizards of the Coast has announced that it will address and remove problematic aspects of the tabletop role player game in future releases, including racially insensitive depictions and stereotypes present in the game's character races. In a blog post,
orc?
Like an orc and an elf. And
Nerding.
Ogre.
By the way,
wizard.
Do black people want to play Dungeons and Dragons? Or
Dominoes?
Get on Black Twitter and ask.
Yeah. So are these, they're stereotypical black characters or something?
Wizards of the Coast continues to say that some elements of the role-playing game's fantasy races have drawn from the treatment of real-world ethnic groups that have been and continue to be denigrated.
Like savages or something, I'm guessing, in the game.
Interesting.
I will say this, when I grew up, cartoons was like Speedy Gonzales was that guy and Fred Flintstone was that guy and everything was that guy. And at some point, they started making everyone kind of the same, except for their skin tone was a little different and their hair was a little different. But there's nothing more annoying than the cartoons do it, modern day cartoons do it, which they have this sort of black. It's essentially a black man who has no characteristics of a black man.
Sure.
They just sort of
Franklin from Peanuts.
Yeah, or Bryant Gumbel's brother,
Greg
Gumbel.
Greg Gumbel, like that. They just look like. It's like, and then what you essentially have,
Dr. Hibbert.
Yeah, you have 5 characters who are the same. They're just different shades. Their likes, their mannerisms, the way they speak. You've turned it all. You've kind of it was kind of my argument with Vanessa Williams. Like, she's the first black woman to ever win. Yeah, with blue eyes and straight hair and all the features of a Nordic
Considered
gal.
a European beauty.
Right. All right. Let's do we have the guys zooming in soon, Max Zapata? Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right.
All right, last one.
Winner take all.
The Chrysler Building. Radio City Music Hall.
Ooh.
Or the Statue of Liberty.
Ooh.
Now we're talking Radio City. We talking Rockettes being problematic, or are we talking the actual building?
My guess is maybe someone wasn't allowed to perform there. Maybe like a history of discrimination.
Good call. Good
Does
call.
Chrysler have a Ford history of the little tarnished?
Nothing's about Jews. I mean, the anti-Semitism we don't care about.
Lee Iacocca might have been a dick.
Yeah, that's what we learned from Ford v. Ferrari.
Okay, I got to guess.
I'm going to say the Statue of Liberty.
That's what I was going to say, too.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
It no longer counts as a symbol of inclusivity
I agree.
or something. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm going to say Radio City. Someone was denied playing there or something.
Philip Kennicott, Pulitzer Prize winner and Washington Post's art and architecture critic, says that the Statue of Liberty no longer represented liberty.
Come on.
No.
Said it was a symbol of, quote, unfulfilled promises due to America's history of racism.
So it's not the statue itself. It's what it failed to.
Who ran the table, everybody?
The journalist added that the statue was irrelevant to non-white Americans.
I feel great about this game. If you have any questions about what's problematic, please seek out the winner.
Gina Grad went 4 for 4.
Wow.
Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
That was problematic. If you enjoyed it, then you're a racist.
There you go.
Oh, well, I say it all the time. Thank God we're out of problems. The Statue of Liberty is problematic, everyone. All right, we'll bring Donal and Danny in a second. First, let me tell you about those guys are ready. Credit Karma Money. Checking account where you can win daily instant karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Just pay with your debit card. If you win, you'll be notified on the spot, and your instant karma cash will be added back to your spend account. Credit Karma Money has already given away over $3 million to over 50,000 members. Open an FDIC-insured account for free. No minimum balance required, no overdraft fees, and free withdrawals as well at 50,000 plus ATMs. When you make a purchase between July 1st and July 23rd, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million. It's Credit Karma, right, Dawson?
Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning instant karma. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning instant karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
All right, we're going to talk to Donal Logue and Danny Trejo in a second. We'll do that right after this.
In the spirit of Murrow, Jennings, Cronkite, here's another great moment in local news.
And then the 4th of July. Here's an actual customer out here. What's the best kind of firework to buy?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Where are your parents?
That's a great moment in local news. Now, back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Well, Danny Trejo and Donal Logue have joined us. There's a new book available on Amazon, co-written by Donal Logue, and it's called Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood. Good to talk to you guys again.
Thank you. Thank you. How you been, Adam?
I've been well. I must admit that when the last we spoke, Inmate Number 1, which is available for...
Inmate Number 1.
Inmate Number 1, I should say. Available now for rent and on demand at Apple TV and Amazon and YouTube, I think, as well. I had seen the trailer of it, but then after we spoke, I went back and watched the whole doc. It is a moving documentary. It is a great documentary. So if people want the incredible Danny Trejo story, that is the one to watch, and kind of near and dear to my own heart because I grew up in the San Fernando Valley and ended up playing for the Sun Valley Falcons, and we played at Poly High.
But yeah, my little cousin Gilbert, he played for the Falcons, and then he went to the Pen. But he played for the Falcons. He's in the book because I helped raise him.
Yeah. So Donal, why don't you talk about you and Danny and where you met and sort of your friendship and how that began?
Well, it's
a blind date.
I forgot this first one. I was a janitor at the West Hollywood Drug and Alcohol Center 30 years ago. And which was just a mad place, like midnight meetings and people all kinds of craziness. And I met Danny there, but I didn't know it. But I guess I was in a rage. Was I like?
Well, he was one of the most angriest people I've ever met, and I've met institutional crazy mad people. You know what I mean? And here he is, this little guy, he was skinny then, little skinny white boy. And I come up and I go, "Hey, what's up?" This kid jumps up. "What do you mean, what's up? What?
I can't even. I have no memory of
so
this.
Angry. My thought was, somebody's going to kill this kid. You just know that somebody's going to just kill him, and then I went into the meeting.
I survived somehow, and then so 8 years later, right? 8 years later, in 1999, I went up to. Vin Diesel was going to do this movie Reindeer Games and bailed at the last second.
This whole thing is God, believe it or not, but you'll listen.
And then so I got called to replace Vin Diesel on this film, which is as absurd as it sounds.
We need a Vin Diesel type.
Yeah, I'm the Vin Diesel type.
But you were like, Vin Diesel just wasn't right for this part.
Yeah.
He can't be funny. You know what I mean? But you gotta be a good actor to be funny. I'm not saying he's not a good actor.
We can read between the lines. We know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I go up to Canada. My first child is 4 days old. It was all kind of crazy, and I was kind of lost. I mean, I was getting stick for going to do the job. I had to do the job. I felt like I was locked between a rock and a hard place. And then so I went to this meeting in quotes, right?
Prince George Canada.
In the basement of a church. And I'm sitting there and it was all kind of First Nations, indigenous guys. And I'm looking through the room and there's Danny's face fitting in with them. And I'm like, whoa, I know that guy. And then immediately I felt foolish. Like, of course I know that dude. That's Danny Trejo, Con Air and Heat and everything. And then, but the funny thing was he had mentioned something about 1968, San Quentin. And I was looking at him and I thought, okay, I was born in 66. It's conceivable I'm a little older than him. He's fit, but he looks like he's had a rough life. And then when we got to talking after the meeting, he goes, "No, dude, I got sober in 1968 in Soledad." Like, I'm like, what the? You're almost 60 years old. You're out of your mind, dude. That was crazy. And then for some reason, we just bonded. We clicked, and he took me under his wing, and he said he had my back. And then Danny would do this crazy stuff where we were up near the Alaskan border in way north British Columbia. It was the middle of winter, and he'd just knock on my hotel and say, "We're going." And I'm like, "Where?" And he goes, "Just get in the car." And he would drive. We'd drive for like an hour and a half through the woods and find some house. And it turned out to be like a halfway house for teens. And he'd go speak to these kids. And Danny's like, "This is what we do every day."
Wow.
We find people, we go help people. And that was, 22 years ago. And we've just been
still doing
super. And so like,
hold on. Was there like a 13-year-old struggling with addiction who was like, "Where the fuck is Vin Diesel?" I thought Vin Diesel was not.
Nobody knew.
I had my Fast and Furious shit out, man. Where is it? But yeah, it's fascinating the way life works out when you think it's not working out. And I have at the end of the audio portion of the book, they were so cool. For the first time in Simon & Schuster or whatever, they allowed like these extra stories that we tacked on at the end. So I won't take up all the time here, but there's a lot of cool stories in there about my friendship with Danny and some of the weird supernatural kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. God stuff.
Divine order stuff.
Divine or absolutely.
Good. That was good. I like that.
All right. So let me just make sure the table is set here. You guys meet 9 years earlier, but Donal, you're out of your mind at that point when you see Danny at a sober facility in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Then you get sober, but you're going out of town to do a movie, and you realize you got to find a meeting.
Yes.
And then you go to that meeting, and you see Danny. Do you remember Danny from 9 years earlier at that point?
I didn't. What I think was happening was at the West Hollywood Drug and Alcohol Center, everybody's invited, right? Which is good and sometimes bad. So I was the janitor. I worked behind the front desk. I was security, all these different things. And I also just had like 45 days of sobriety under my belt. And all these assholes would come in and be like, these guys would have these 2-gallon jugs of things. And they're like, and coffee was 35 cents. And they're like, fill it up. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that, man. Then no one gets coffee, or they give you shit, or all this kind of stuff. And then I think that's when Danny walked in, when I was just kind of wrangling with a bunch of the people who were there. Maybe that's why, one thing I will never do is I will never judge Danny's take on a given situation. And if he says that was going down, it absolutely was going down, because no one's got more emotional intelligence or a better memory. But for some reason, I subjugated that memory. And so when I met him in the church basement in Prince George, I thought it was like the first time we'd ever crossed paths. But no, he was like, I met you before, And I was like, look, dude, if I was cleaning up a bathroom where a toilet had just exploded, if you were doing that at the West Hollywood Drug Alcohol Center, I guarantee you'd be an angry motherfucker too.
It was like that place where even the drunks would come in. People would come in loaded. It was, it's Hollywood on Santa Monica Boulevard at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Yeah. So it was an insane spot.
What a great place, though. What a great time.
A lot of people got sober there.
But so that's how it started, and then we just became like best friends. And so about 3 years ago, I had a lit agent named Lydia who said, your friend Danny should do a book, which was something that had been suggested many times, right, Danny?
Yeah, but I could never find anybody. Everybody I found was like an English literature major. So I would say something and they would change like 2 words and it didn't sound like me. And every time I showed it to my kid's mom, I'd say, here, Maeve, check this out. And she would say, that doesn't sound like you. That doesn't sound like you. So when I met Donald, when we started trying to do this thing, and he's like an English literature major, but he grew up on the border. Okay, now you can't get more street, more alley than the border. You know what I mean? They're not even streets. So it was like he would write down exactly kind of what I said, and he would put it in my words, but he would make it kind of grammatically correct. Yeah.
But it was interesting, Adam, because writing the book, it's all Danny, and all I did was kind of hang out with him, roll with him. We would sometimes focus, sometimes not, and record, and just have these conversations. Yeah. And I would record these things and then transcribe them. And then the only thing I really did was try to give it some shape. And in some ways, there was a little bit of prose you had to build to put it, but it was just trying to take. I mean, I remember I just left my house right now to come over here, and there's, I think, 3,000 pages sitting on this table I had printed out of different things, and it just was a lot to try and distill it into this book. But what I will say about the book compared to Inmate Number 1, which was a phenomenal documentary,
surface.
But what it was it didn't get to the third rail. It didn't go deep about the real thing. It was a lot of those stories about Danny are accessible online, or you've heard them before, but this was the first time Danny opened up to me and almost to yourself in front of another human being or God or whatever, and revealed some things that were pretty intense and kind of surprising for your kids too, right? They didn't know.
My kids didn't even know that my mom, their grandma, was my stepmom.
Oh wow.
I never
that kind of stuff.
Well, let's talk about some of that stuff, but let's also circle back to the divine intervention or the deities or the God or kismet or whatever it is we're calling it, Beshert, whatever it is we're calling it. Yeah, like in Danny's old neighborhood in San Fernando, they call it Beshert, and they'd say that
when they're
guy's
kibitzing on the street
that
corner.
guy's a man. She can join the gang.
Adam, are you still in the San Fernando Valley?
No, I mean,
Studio is.
my entire family is still in North Hollywood, but we had to change the name to Valley Village because too many of your friends wandered over from San Fernando.
Okay, but listen, you know what? You don't cruise Van Nuys Boulevard.
In a gay way, yeah, not to show off the cars.
Hey, if you want to come over, I got like 9 lowriders. You come over and get in one weekend. Because they asked my daughter, "Where did your father grow up?" And my daughter said, "He hasn't." See this cars. He's still cruising Van Nuys. And we cruise Van Nuys Boulevard.
Is Wednesday night still cruising night on Van Nuys Boulevard?
You have to like check online because they have to call it real quick because the cops, it has to be like, we're cruising, and then everybody goes. Otherwise, the cops will shut it down.
It used to be Wednesday night was
yes.
cruising nights on Van Nuys Boulevard, and people just cruise and park and cruise, and then maybe break off and race somewhere in a slightly more remote area. There is actually a song on Dr. Demento. Anyone who grew up in the Valley or in Los Angeles knows Dr. Demento, called Wednesday Night is Cruising Night in Van Nuys.
Specific.
Yes, very, very specific.
I need more evidence, Adam.
And they're like, we got to move units in Idaho. How about we write a song called Wednesday Night is Cruising Night in Van Nuys? Yeah, I would love to go low and slow with you.
Low and slow. I got offered a job, or they wanted me to go on a program called Fast and Loud.
Oh, yeah.
I said, hey, wait, call me when you get low and slow going.
So let's talk about some of the kismet and the divine interventions and things like that, or just a crazy coincidence.
Over and over again.
Well, it already happened right out of the gate when you were on reindeer game set and you attended the same sobriety meeting. But talk about some other examples.
Well, can I give a crazy one? So when I came back after reindeer games, I came back and Danny knew I was going through a really hardcore situation in my life. And I felt I was having problems with my kid's mom, and she was really giving me a hard time anytime I had to work. But I was like, this is my job. I got to pay the bills. This is how I support this little family. And the Dow of Steve came out, which was kind of like a good moment for me. And it was at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. And the week prior, Danny had been calling me because he's just keeping an eye out for me. And he's like, call me back. How you doing? And then I was embarrassed and I wouldn't reach out to him. And so the messages got worse and worse. And he's like, I'll send the fucking Mexicans to come get you, Bones. And I ain't joking anymore, motherfucker, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was up there. I went up to Santa Barbara for this film festival and on Friday night. And I remember Danny left a message and he said, listen, motherfucker, God's going to put you in my path. And so I was like, shit, man, it's way too far to call him back. I am too embarrassed. And so the next day
your keys.
So the next day I'm driving, I wake up and there's a bad rainstorm and I have to get back to LA, and it's so bad. There's cars wrecked everywhere and all kinds of shit. So I call my kid's mom and I say, hey, listen, the bad storm, I'm going to sit it out in this IHOP parking lot for a couple of hours because it's too nuts. And she's like, get your ass home now. So I get back on the 101, heading south towards LA. And my mind is just roiling with all that kind of stuff of like, this is unfair. I'm not doing anything wrong. This is a big moment for me. She's pissed. I'm pissed. And I'm driving too fast. And I start to realize I'm hydroplaning. And so I kiss the median and I start doing these 360s across 5 lanes of traffic. And I'm like, oh, there's a truck and there's a minivan. And I total my car. And my first thought is like, am I dead? Am I alive? I completely totaled this thing and I'm in shock. And I look up and cars are trying to get over in the driving rain. And I see this silver Mercedes with a tint. And I see these kind of concerned looky-loo faces passing by. And I get out on the freeway and I look up and I notice this car of Good Samaritans probably has pulled over. And Danny steps out of the driver's door. And the rain is pouring. And I'm like, Danny, I was just going to call you. Like, hey, man. And he's just staring at me in the rain and he's pointing at me and he goes, I told you God would put you in my fucking path, Holmes. And it was kind of like, woo, I'm a believer. And I would have to say this with Danny this kind of thing has happened a number of times, and it really stretches because I think I pay a little bit of lip service to, oh yeah, I have faith and I believe in a higher power and stuff. But when it comes to my life, I go, well, I ain't going to trust that. I need to control these things. And Danny keeps, I don't know, he's an example of that. You have to let things go, and you have to, right, Danny? You have to have faith.
Let go and let God.
Can we talk tacos for a second, Danny?
Absolutely. That's what I said. Let go, let God. He eats tacos.
Let God eat tacos.
What are your best offerings? Best tacos you make? It's Trejo's Tacos, right?
Love it. Love it. God. And you know what? Everything good that has happened to me has happened as a direct result of helping someone else. That's how I got into the restaurant business. I did a favor for a director named Craig Moss.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to do. It was a movie called Badass. I didn't want to do it. I had a pay number over here, not a pay number. I had a pay movie over here, that I was going to make some dough on. And he had this low budget movie and was trying to, hey, so my agent, Gloria, she kept saying, I think this is going to turn into something. You ought to give it another look. And I said, I'm giving this $25,000 a look. I said, really, Danny. So like all women, she has that way of going, okay, well, then don't ask me for my advice. Just do whatever you want. I've only been in this business. Okay, so we do this stupid movie. Damn thing turns into a trilogy. I made 4 times the amount of money, but I met this producer named Ash Shaw that saw that I like good food. I don't eat processed food or fast food. And he said, hey, Danny, why don't you open a restaurant? Jokingly, I said, Trejo's Tacos. And 2 movies later, Badasses and Badass on the Bayou, he brings me a business plan. And I opened it, had about 14, 15 pages on it. I opened it, and there was no killer on the first page. So it's definitely not good reading. So I gave it to Gloria, and she kind of said, this isn't, this is a no-brainer. We could do this. So the way that was set in motion is the reason that I'm in the restaurant business. Yeah. Got 7 restaurants. And I know that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have done this stupid movie that ended up paying a lot of money and running into this producer and listening to my agent.
And don't forget the donuts.
Well, it's an interesting...
Oh, yeah, we got a donut
The
shop.
incredible donuts.
It's an interesting thing that I'm thinking of, as long as we're sort of being philosophical about things, which is all the good stuff is kind of one step removed. It's all behind a door. You know what I mean? So somebody goes, leave the room and walk through that door, and you go, I like what's in this room. Why should I walk through the door? And then someone goes, you don't know what's on the other side of the door. And I go, that's right. That's why I'm staying in this room. But every story about someone meeting the love of their life or giving a great business is all like, they wanted me to go out. I didn't want to go out. I didn't feel like it. And then they've convinced, I said, fine, I'll go. And then I went, and then I met my wife, or whatever that story is, or I started the restaurant. So to sort of base your life on what's in front of you immediately, what you can see, what you can imbibe, and what you can discern, like right there. It's not a good way to go through life, since everyone's success story is I didn't want to do this, but I did it, and then I met this person once I did that, and then we turned it into this.
Look at Adam, in a smaller thing, like if you go, and I'm not saying this for everybody else, for me it was necessary, I'm crazy, raging alcoholic. My life is messed up. I was homeless or whatever. I got it together when I moved out to LA by just getting it. And then I got this job as a janitor at the Drug and Alcohol Center. And there's always that decision where you're like, oh man, I don't want to be a janitor. I don't like this, whatever this room is, even if it's nasty and uncomfortable, I don't want that. I don't want that. Or even when I went up to reindeer games to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to leave this party. The best thing for me to do is to go to a meeting, to find one and go walk through snowy streets to a church, whether I want to or not, because good things always happen. And that's how I met Danny. And good things always happen when you take contrary action, especially if it's if it's to help someone else or help yourself or to do what needs to be done. Like I can't even tell you how many great things have happened, and I know that you know that since we're on this philosophical tip, but help some old lady push her car to the side of the road on Gower or something. And then 2 years later, have a big meeting in this Hollywood world that we're in. And someone's like, I want you to know that you pushed my mom's car to the side of the road. And, it's like good deeds don't always have to come with cash and prizes, but it's when you put yourself in positive motion, that's the stuff that you're talking about.
Everything good that's happened to me has happened as a direct result of helping someone else. Everything.
Well,
it's like, that's just, it's so funny because this lady, I could see, she was 112 years old. She's on the street, she's going through garbage, collecting cans, just collecting cans. And I know this is going to sound stupid, but she reminded me of my grandmother. She's just not giving up. She's going to work. She's not going to stand out in the corner with a sign. I stopped. And I had a 20. I picked up. I got this 20, and I said, "Señorita, I found this. I found this over here. Is it yours?" And she goes, "Yes." And she grabbed it. I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Oh, thank you." And so I left. I bought a lotto ticket. I won $400. No, wait, I'm sorry. You know what? But it doesn't always happen that quick. But believe me. No good deed comes. I forget what you say.
Right.
It's karma,
unpunished, actually. But here's the. So now we get into this conundrum, which is we're old enough that we were forced out to participate in potential good deeds or in potential kismet or whatever it is we're talking about. We were forced out to do it, like physically, because nobody had air conditioning and a 70-inch flat panel TV and 7,000 channels. And I kind of worry. So we lived in an analog world where cars would break down. And when the car broke down, you then had a decision. Should I pull off and help this person push the car off the road? Cars don't really break down anymore, and
they have OnStar.
And kids can, just sit in their room and watch, binge watch Netflix until the cows come home. So in a weird way, there's a kind of a physical mandate to what we're talking about, where you have to physically go outside and interact with the world and deal with people and potentially help people. I'm worried that it's so digital now that so many kids are just sitting in their kitchen staring at their phone that they'll never get the opportunity to do these kinds of acts, which were kind of foisted on us because there was nothing to do but leave the house and interact and be with other people.
I agree with you, Adam. I mean, we used to joke about, because like Danny knows, I grew up in Calexico and El Centro, and I remember when I first heard about Ziggy Stardust through my friend Clyde Carson, and he goes, "There's this dude in Brawley that has it, this David Bowie record. So your choice is to ride bicycles 13 miles." Do you know what I mean? Like, that immediate gratification. It was like someone's going to show you a couple of chords on the guitar, so you ride your bike to Holtville 5 miles, or what, but to be in motion in the world, because as they say, like, your own mind is a dangerous neighborhood you don't want to go into alone. And to sit in a room and just be absorbed with yourself and your thoughts and not just get into motion in the world is, I know there's a lot of stuff happening.
You've reminded me of a prime example of this. So I was watching a Keith Richards documentary, maybe on Netflix, last night, and Keith Richards met, who did he meet? trying to think.
Mick Jagger?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it was a member. I think it was Mick Jagger. He met Mick Jagger. Okay, so the way they met, at least according to the Keith Richards doc, is he was on public transportation. So there you are. Because when you're traveling alone in your Prius, you're kind of taking your digital room and moved it out into the digital world. But you're kind of in. So Keith Richards is like taking the tunnel or the tube or the trolley or whatever. And then he sees Mick Jagger. And I think Mick Jagger has like a Muddy Waters album and a Little Richard album, like kind of like under his arm. And he like kind of looks at him and goes, "You're into Muddy Waters, and Little Richard." Now, we would all have that on our phone, but no one could see it. You know what I mean? This is the digital world versus the sort of analog, tactile world. So, you have to get out. Well, fast forward, we have the Rolling Stones. But how do we get the Rolling Stones if Keith Richards is just sitting in his room playing on his phone or playing video games all day,
I'm still trying to figure out how you say that cars don't break down. Obviously, you haven't been in Silmar or Pacoima.
I've been locking you out of too long.
Fernando Road lately.
I'm not talking about the 57 Impala with the organ pipe speakers in the back. I'm talking about white people.
Cars off the road.
But I do think, Adam, like my kids write beats and produce songs. And I do think that in the digital highway, they encounter each other in these different ways. And I have to say, my older son, he's a skater, and those kids seem, and especially in New York, they just hit the streets early in the morning, and they're just gone for 14 hours. And whether it's good or bad or crazy or dangerous, they're in motion in the world. And I trust technology has some great points, and we can do this, and I can hear you all the time, and which is, like we can access these conversations. But I do worry about that because I guess it's nostalgia and being old, but our childhoods were just like, figure it out, dude, on foot, on a skateboard, or on a bike. You're going to hit just going to hit the street in the morning and be part of this world.
How many, when I was growing up, every third kid who rode a bike had a second kid on the handlebars. Standing on the buddy pegs in the back. I mean, everyone was doubled up on bikes. Just think about that sight. You don't see that sight anymore of kids on the bars, on the back seat, while the other kid's standing up and pedaling.
The parents would be arrested.
Yeah, now you see the one kid who's riding the one bike, and then he's got the other bike by the handlebar because he just ripped it off from the Starbucks. But you don't get two kids on the one bike.
See, now you're talking about Pacoima.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Whenever there's a technology, somebody's going to utilize the shit out of it and connect and find beats and do all this kind of stuff. Like it's not all bad. I worry about kind of the majority of people that are sitting back and listening to the beats that the other connected people are creating.
Yeah, just
during the pandemic, during the quarantine or whatever we were through, it's like the two autistic kids that I take care of, one of them loved it. He used to go, "This is so cool because nobody's bothering me." Yeah. And he just stayed in his room. And he would, "Hey, Sam, hey, I'm quarantined." You know what I mean? So it was like, so some people love it, some people didn't, but they're doing pretty good. Theo applied to colleges. He got accepted to 8 different colleges.
Yeah, he was writing. Like one thing you're saying, Adam, is, it's always a decision, right? Like obviously Danny's life is phenomenal and his story was an easy sell business wise to a publishing house, but still that idea to be like, hey, we should do this. And when you make that decision and then you write like a 50-page proposal and then you work a couple of years on creating something that ends up coming out, and it's like the joy of and that was like to the quarantine. Instead of sitting around and just jamming on Netflix, we were actually trying to create this document together that hopefully would share an inspirational story for other people. And kind of like what you're doing. Look, it's fun to just hang out with your friends and do a podcast, and the double win-win is that other people are benefiting from it. But my kids, I tell my youngest was up all night, and I said, look, as long as you're in your room creating music, like, I'm so down for that. Just create and leave it up to the powers that be, whether it goes anywhere or someone, but like the joy of just actually starting a project and doing it and completing it is like, there's nothing in life like it.
Well, let's talk about creating in you, Donal. I don't know, other than the book, obviously, the Dow of Steve. God, I'm trying to think. Is that movie 15 years old now?
Yeah, 21 actually. Yeah, Dow of Steve.
I remember when I was working on a movie, people would say, you got to watch this movie as an example of a funny movie that was done on a low budget, that was sort of, not a big Hollywood production and stuff like that. And everyone loved that movie. I don't know where you can find it these days. Brian will tell people where you can find it. But so how much of that are you involved with these days? Are you working on screenplays? Is there another vehicle for you?
I worked on a couple of novels that were in different stages of doing okay. And that's what started. I really got into the idea of I love the idea of writing, because you don't need to, that whole thing of going around town and pitching an idea and trying to get someone to back it and then have 20 18-wheelers full of equipment. Like this, you can do by yourself as a one-person team, not obviously Danny's book, but I did normal front door acting jobs, especially in Canada during the quarantine, because they were filming up there. And, I had a crazy kind of run with Vikings and Sons and Gotham and Law and Order. I was working a lot, but I found it got difficult because I'm a single dad, and you're doing these, whether they're goofy or not, or awesome or not, you're leaving the door and you're gone for 15 hours. And if stuff happens when you're out, if stuff happens to your kids or whatever, you can't leave, and I started finding, started kind of rebelling against it in my soul a little bit, because there was no control over a normal life. Like if the dolly grip, if his kid was in an accident in the hospital, they're like, just go and Jim will jump in. But I found in a couple of those instances with myself, they were like, oh dude, if you go, it's a $2 million insurance hit. We can't. And I love that business, and I love the opportunities I've had in it. I just found myself drawn to, this other facet, trying to create and trying to write, which I think is, I've taken a lot of personal joy from it. So no, I'm still doing acting jobs and I'm down with that. But I think my weird, ambitious run at it, which I think was a little unhealthy, and it's easy to get caught up in, has kind of abated a bit in that world.
The Tao of Steve, by the way, is available for rent on demand on YouTube, Apple TV, and Amazon. I think about the same places as Prisoner Number One.
Yeah.
Is
Inmate number one.
Inmate Number One. God damn it.
And everybody thinks that I did that, renamed it because I was in prison. We didn't, because the first 5 years of my career in the movies, I played inmate number one, or bad guy, or Chicano dude with tattoos, or mean dude.
The book is called Trejo: My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood. It's available now on Amazon. You guys come in studio whenever you like, and whenever you have a new project, and say hi. I'm always enjoy speaking to you guys.
Oh man, you're the best, Adam. Seriously.
Yeah, dude.
And
thank you guys so much.
We do accept, we do accept tacos and donuts as gifts.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can hook that up.
Absolutely,
right?
man. Where are you at, Adam? Aren't you
I'm in Glendale. Yeah. You've been here.
That's what I thought. I've been there.
Yeah. So come on by and bring some tacos. I'll go with the El Pastor. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
God bless you, homie.
God bless you. Let me tell you about Liquid IV. If you're working out or it's a hot day, especially during the summer months, you need some Liquid IV. Smart, by the way, to travel with this stuff. We do it. Dawson pulled out. We had a long flight. long Alaskan summer days.
Long days, 7 miles hikes to get bears, lots of tired, lots of drinking to do. The energy liquid IV came in real handy.
Yeah. 1 stick of the liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates faster and more efficiently than water alone. Great flavors like a watermelon, strawberry, lemon, lime. No preservatives, less sugar than an apple. Again, you travel, you should get the energy multiplier, but you should also get the liquid IV as well. In response to COVID-19, Liquid IV has donated 4 million servings to hospitals, first responders, food banks, veterans, and active military as well. It's Liquid IV, right, Dawson?
Grab your Liquid IV in bulk at Nationwide at Costco, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code ADAM at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you get better hydration today using promo code ADAM at liquidiv.com.
All right, quick break. Back with the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gino Grad, breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gino Grad, stuff they saw on TMZ, Joe Biden, Kamala. Need news with Gino Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, breaking, we do have a couple of video clips of Kiss on, I keep wanting to say Charlie Rose.
Tom Snyder.
Thank you. Tom Snyder. Do you want to look at those first?
Yeah. Poor Tom Snyder. Kiss is in full makeup.
Thanks, man.
1979.
All right, thank you. In your off time, I mean, when you're not performing, not in your off time, but when you're... What is the recreational activity that you enjoy?
Oh, orgies,
sacrifices. Human sacrifices.
Human sacrifices.
There's a movie where it says the guy said orgies.
Orgies, that's
right. Orgy, doggy,
no, I do various things.
Do you mind if I hold on to him? He's...
No, you can hold him as long as you like. Just make certain that when you leave, he stays.
There. Okay. I've heard the horror stories about thefts. Yeah.
Holding a teddy bear.
Leaps and bounds.
It's crazy. If we're in a hotel across the street from the halls we're playing, it really looks like Ringling Brothers because you see parents, you see 6 years old, you see 25-year-olds. Mm-hmm. It's really it appeals to a lot.
And if we did a concert in Bombay, there would even be cows.
I bet you didn't know that, did you?
Cracking himself up.
All right, he's nuts. I mean, he's drunk or whatever. Poor Tom Snyder.
Poor Gene.
Poor Gene.
He's been humiliated, and he's already, look at that outfit.
Yeah. Also, it seems hard to rock as hard when you're wearing like this 8-inch platform shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it keeps you from having to run around. You just kind of stomp in place, which he's very good at. Or you get hooked up to wires and go up. You go vertical.
I would be like, if I'm in the band, I'm so lazy with all the crazy outfits and all the makeup and everything. I'd be pitching like, what about Sweatpants Man?
Sweatpants Man.
No, hear me out. Flip-flops, sweatpants.
It's not really our look.
Ooh, the flesh tone warrior.
Yeah. Oh, here's what I got. I got a little of that beer froth on my upper lip. How about that?
The unshaved demon.
Yes, the unshaved demon with the beer head on the upper lip.
It doesn't really fit with the rest of us. Is it at least spangled and sparkly?
Ooh. You know those travel neck pillows? That's my cape. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe if it's made out of chrome.
No. It's like a faux. It's like a faux velvet.
I'm not seeing it. That doesn't really go with our look.
I got the eye shade pulled up. I got the travel pillow. I got the
tracksuit monster.
Tracksuit, flip flops.
I mean, maybe if we cut out the tracksuit so we see your nipples, and we cut out the back, and we have maybe a T we carve in the back. We gotta make it rock and roll.
Well, those neck pillows will roll. Oh. I mean, they're get a little speed up.
Can we at least put just cover it in spikes?
Ooh, bathrobe dude. Come out there in a bathrobe.
Deadly bathrobe dude.
Got my bear slippers on. Look out, front row.
I mean, I kind of like the bear slippers, but yeah, the bathrobe isn't really our vibe. I mean, if it was would you be willing to do a terry cloth cape? We do capes.
I could do one of those terry cloth towel wrap things that Dean Martin would wear by the pool in the 60s.
Yeah, that's more of a pre-show look, not really on stage.
Tell that to Dean Martin. Yeah, remember all that stuff that when I was growing up, if somebody had one of those wraps, one of those terry cloth wraps, had a pocket in it for your cigarettes,
Sure.
had the wrap, and if you were really rich, it was like monogram. But if you own one of those, you were well off.
You're doing okay.
They didn't. There's this.
That's when you were growing up?
Yeah, when
Times changed because my mom got me one for Christmas when I was like 12, and it was probably $11.
Right.
It was pathetic.
Yes. Yeah, it was like there's certain. Well, again, like we said, like if you owned your own bowling ball, you're doing pretty good. If you had your own skis or golf, God forbid, golf clubs, like a full set of golf clubs, like you're doing okay.
Yeah.
When
That
I
means
was
you're a
growing up.
member somewhere.
Yes, right.
The only thing I ever owned when I loved bowling and I wanted to join a bowling league, and the only thing we could afford is my dad bought me my own rosin bag.
That he probably stole from a Little League baseball game that he was calling.
I was very proud of that rosin bag. I don't know if it was an afford thing, but is Gina really going to practice enough to buy her a bowling ball? I don't think so. So we went with a rosin bag.
Yeah, there was like, you could not own your own $26 bowling ball unless you committed to turning pro.
Yes.
Like, well, God forbid you only use it 1,100 times.
That's right.
That at a cost of 3 cents per game.
And we went a lot. And to add insult to injury, my dad in the 70s called bowling tournaments.
Oh, come on.
It's on ESPN.
Yeah, bowling was considered a sport of kings where I was from. Like that was kind of an expensive thing. Like anything, there's a few things. Anything that added up, like it was $5 a game or whatever. Do you want to play 3 games? It's going to be $15. There's another place called Malibu Grand Prix where they had these like go-karts and stuff.
We had those.
They had mini golf too.
It was
Putt.
It was $1 a lap.
Oh,
and I remember like, that is a
Rockefeller?
princely sum.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 laps, who knows what that could cost? And it was like all these things were way out of reach. Like, that's insane. We can go to Pepe's go-kart, in San Fernando Valley if it's somebody's birthday or whatever, and it's $5 for 20 minutes or something. But $1 a lap?
Keep dreaming. But because it's so funny, it's in Malibu Grand Prix. We did have one of those, and I did have the driver's license.
Yes.
I got to put that online.
Just the whole notion of, my kids will never even know change. It's just change is like completely valueless.
Oh, you got to dig through the change bowl at home so you can go to the snack bar at the public pool.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk Cosby. His rep says his camp has been in touch with some clubs since his release, and managers have been open to the idea of a comedy tour. Andrew Wyatt says the world wants to see Mr. Cosby. There's also a 5-part docuseries in the works. Cameras have been following him around, and he plans to sit for interviews about his legacy, his time in prison, and his release.
Is that what they're telling him? So they can get him in the documentary? Because I can imagine they flatter him.
Family and friends have already gone in front of the camera for this docuseries. He still considers himself quite the hero and quite the, dare I say, like civil rights leader?
Well, he can be both.
So how's this going to work? Is he going to like have Louis C.K. open for him, or is he going to start popping into the clubs?
Probably, but
and then the audience is going to do what?
I mean, we saw what happened when Weinstein sat in a back corner booth and a woman shouted him out of the building. So how's this going to go down?
I don't think it's going to go well.
I don't think Hannibal Buress is going to open for him.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of think of how comedy is versus singing or other forms of entertainment. Like Frank Sinatra could have gotten broiled with one of these things, but he would still fill arenas.
Right.
But Bill Cosby may have lost. Now, Frank Sinatra, he tapered off at the end, but it was still Frank Sinatra concert. Is Bill Cosby at 83 going to be funny? You know what I mean? Is he going to be sharp? Is he going to do the old stuff? Like
the big difference is he going to be self-deprecating about his own situation?
Of course not.
I don't think so.
Okay, then I think he's in trouble. If he jokes about his own situation, maybe.
And
maybe
for
the
comedy,
audience goes along with it,
you have to have the audience on your side.
That's
Everybody hates him.
Yeah. like when I was in Alaska talking about how shitty the salmon was and how I don't like moose. You got to win them over. You got to reel them in.
You really dug yourself a hole there.
Reel them in.
Yeah. So here's, what people say, well, I'll never buy that album again because I don't want to support that kind of person. I'd be very tempted to watch this docuseries.
Oh, I would watch the shit out of it. I watch every piece of docuseries I can watch.
Yeah.
And I would definitely watch this.
I'd love to see what he thinks he looks like and who he thinks he is.
Yeah. I remember talking to Baby Doll when Baby Doll was just a junior lawyer, agent. And he just told me horrible stories about Bill Cosby, like going up to the room and like literally having Cosby going like, what's he doing here? Like looking at 26-year-old Baby Doll going, why is he in the room? And they go, well, he's just a young agent. He's come with us or whatever. Well, I don't want him in the room, like in front of him and stuff. Like there's plenty of good, horrible Cosby stories to dudes.
Right.
You think that's horrible?
Right. Yeah.
I was listening to a really interesting, there's the podcast Chasing Cosby was about this. And there's a new one, well, newish because it was when he was in prison, a live show of it with a lot of the, accusers and the survivors and blah, 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 blah. And it was really interesting. I never really thought about this because the women were black, white, middle-aged, young, kind of everything. And one of the women was black. And it was funny because the host said, a lot of women of color. She goes, no, black women. And it's I'm saying that for a reason because we are getting villainized for speaking out against this man while he's trying to consider himself, he's getting railroaded like the black man gets railroaded. No. He's a villain. Yes, there are, black men wrongfully in prison and he's trying to, buddy up to that group and double down on making us the villain. Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, there's a clip of his lawyer that we can't find. I don't know why we can't find it.
Well, I have two. One is a clip of his here. Watch this. This is a clip of his lawyer outside his house.
That sounds like about right.
Nixon put him on a communist list in the 60s, along with so many other great names like Dick Gregory, Jane Fonda. How could a man who was being watched by the FBI every day be raping and drugging women in the 60s,
figured it out.
Especially a black man?
That's a tough
Especially
defense.
black man.
That's an
Especially
insane.
black man.
But you still have the court of public opinion where we all know he was happy to tell his story about drugging people.
Also, it's like saying, how could he do number 2 with the FBI watching? Well, they may have been monitoring his, tapped his phone or something, but he can still have guests come by the house.
Indeed.
And have a cocktail.
Yeah, it's accomplishable.
How could?
That's a pretty flimsy defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we have a written statement. Yeah, what was I watching on TMZ?
It might have been this.
thing?
This is when they read his written statement.
This comes from his spokesperson, Andrew Wyatt, and he says, we want to thank the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. This is what we have been fighting for, and this is justice and justice for Black America. This is justice. This is the justice Mr. Cosby has been fighting for.
How dare he?
The problem with race, as we've seen, it's become so kind of this charges of, or as a black woman, or as a trans something, or as a member of it. It's so fucking ubiquitous that people just throw it around.
Right.
Now it's just here. Like, he's black. Yes. Well, he was, accused of this. Well, but he's a black man, so that needs to be woven into every interaction, everything that happens.
Right.
It's just, that's where we're at. It's just you're somehow leaving money on the table if you're black and something happens to you, even if you're a multimillionaire and beloved and America's father and international icon. You're still black, so you got to mention that you're black man.
Right.
You're like Rodney King.
And that's what I'm saying. Talk about re-victimizing a black woman who was raped by him and him saying, oh, this is justice for Black America. Well, where's her justice? You raped her.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Unbelievable.
There we
okay.
are.
Well, hope he lives a long,
also,
healthy life.
he was supposed to be blind.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
Yes.
Going blind, was the last I heard.
Yeah. I'm not hearing as much about that.
Less.
But
yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Weinstein would have a little less of a limp when he got out.
Yeah, he was kind of holding the arm of
He goes full Willy Wonka.
his guy a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't know. Not
Camille.
much talk.
Camille's
yeah.
probably happy.
Mm.
Former president.
Is Camille happy?
Oh, that he's out? You think she was doing okay without him? She seems like unequivocally stand by your man no matter what. I'm confused as to what you are confused about.
Well, she's got to know the allegations and have heard the allegations.
For decades.
I'm sure she says, certain things to support him, but when he was away, was she happier?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. Like, she has his itinerary. You know what I mean? So it's like when you hear about these things of, well, when he was doing the show up in the Meadowlands and then he was staying at his agent's house for 2 days and then one of the accusers said that he called her, into the house. Like,
Right.
she was there. She was in Beverly Hills,
Right.
but she remembers.
Sure.
Where it was,
She's got
yeah.
the schedule.
Yeah.
She understands what he's accused of, probably understands it better than any of us.
But think about it this way, and I'm just kind of formulating this as I say it. If we as strangers who've never met the man could be so dazzled by him for so many decades and hear these stories and kind of go, yeah, but he's fine. Think about when he has his sights on you and he shines that light on you, I would imagine some people be susceptible to believe anything he says, no matter what they're seeing in front of them.
You say it's their fault?
Yes. No, I'm saying he's such an unbelievable sociopath.
Most of women who marry the famous guys buy into that for a while, but the bloom comes off the rose. I have no idea, but I do know that Weinstein's ex-wife has found new love.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
A fresh start for her.
With an actor who we've heard of, who was the one who was married to...
Don't say Michael Biehn.
No, Wild...
He's a cheater at the Long Beach Grand Prix.
Oh, that's right. The cheater at the Adrian Brody.
Is with the ones.
Yes.
Weinstein's ex?
Wait, wasn't the pianist Miramax? She has to have known him.
He has a history with Miramax, sure.
Wow.
I know him better as the guy who passed cars under a yellow, full course yellow caution from the Toyota Grand Prix.
Sure,
but you guys may know him from the piano.
Wow.
Pianist.
A pianist,
Academy
sorry.
Award winner / cheater. The
Right.
Long Beach Grand Prix.
That's
right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right on shoreline, right on the straight, right where everyone could see it. Anyway,
For the
it's called a
God.
full
Smug
caution
grin.
yellow for a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, good for him.
he desecrated the flag. The yellow
The
flag. But to me, that's a bigger faux
sacred
pas.
flag, yeah.
It's a sacred flag. You don't pass under a yellow.
Right. Everybody
Symbol.
knows that.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Yes, so now they're dating.
Oh, terrific.
I'm telling you, it's a great tactical move for him,
For which one?
Adrian,
Why?
because she's gonna at some point it's gonna turn into a relationship, and they'll get into a little groove, and then the bloom will be off the rose, and you start getting into that, the repetition of a relationship, and then she's going to come home one night and say that he left the mayonnaise out. And it was after it's opened. It needs to be refrigerated. And he's going to go, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Could've been worse, I
opposed
guess.
to...
That's what you're upset about from your husband?
It'd be awesome if Harvey that's all he did.
Yeah, you'd still
just
be
left
together.
the Dijonnaise out. That's
Wouldn't it
it.
be nice if that was the worst thing in your life?
That's right. Wouldn't it be
How
well?
nice it must be.
Right.
Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got it made. You're right. Former President Donald Trump plans to sue Facebook, Twitter, and Google over their banning him in the wake of the January 6th Capitol riot. He says those bans infringe on his First Amendment right to free speech, and also suggests that the major tech firms function as arms of the federal government rather than as private companies. Trump is actually the lead plaintiff in a class action suit, arguing that he's suing not just for himself, but for other conservative commentators who've been booted off those platforms.
I was talking to Geragos about this briefly. There is going to be some lawsuits. I wasn't talking about Trump, but I was saying like some physician that said, here's a therapeutic, and then they said misinformation and pull them off, and it wasn't misinformation, and now you've done harm to the guy's reputation, and there's going to be more of that.
That makes sense, though.
It'll be interesting world.
I was listening to a podcast about, the Delta variant or whatever, and it's funny. And it in a way, I would imagine you'd consider this kind of satisfying because I was really confused for most of it. And I was like, so what's the takeaway? I'm confused. And ultimately, by the end of the podcast, the guy goes, well, here's the thing. Why do we all have to wear masks if we're vaccinated? And why? If, Pfizer and Moderna have like an 88%, effectiveness against the Delta variant. And he goes, here's the deal. The CDC says you don't have to, but the World Health Organization would very much like you to. So it's like at least someone's being honest that, they're not on the same page. Now, I understand the World Health Organization if you're talking about other countries that aren't as vaccinated as we are. But to just leave everyone confused, I listened to this thing for an hour and finally at the very end he goes, CDC is not really on board, but the World Health Organization is.
Yeah, I've been hearing about the Delta, but I don't know. It's hard to kind of ring that wolf bell too many times.
Yeah.
So people don't respond.
Over an abundance of caution.
And
yes. And they did say, just FYI, that, the cases are on the rise. The cases. And I was waiting to hear, not hospitalizations, cases.
Yeah, I think we got a much better bearing on this whole thing. I mean, remember when people are being hooked up to respirators or ventilators? And
car companies stopped making cars and started making ventilators.
I know, and God bless them, but Anheuser-Busch shut down and started making hand sanitizer and all this stuff. It was
quite
nuts.
the war effort.
All right, let's bring her home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Hey, I'm quarantined.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, last just a few seconds about Hyundai Tucson. They questioned everything to create the best Tucson ever. Every inch is completely reimagined, resulting in an SUV loaded with innovation inside and out. You can learn more at Hyundai.com. That's Hyundai.com. Raleigh, North Carolina, Good Nights Comedy Club coming up July 16th and 17th. We'll do a live pod there, and then we'll do stand-up there as well. Minneapolis, Acme Comedy Company coming up August 27th, 28th, and then Royal Oak, Michigan, Royal Oak Music Theater, and Arvest Bank Theater in KC, Kansas City, Missouri. It's coming up. You just go to AdamCarolla.com and you can check out a bunch of new content on our Pluto TV channel, Chassis channel on Pluto TV. We got a bunch of new going racing stuff up there. And that's channel, it's free, by the way. That's channel 687. I want to thank Donal Logue and Danny Trejo. Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood. Available now on Amazon as well. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Danny Trejo and Donal Logue and Gina Grad and Bo Bryan. Say it. Mahala.
You wanted the best. You got it. The best.